Hello and welcome to another riveting, exciting episode of Coffee and Cuddles. I know we've been away for a while. We've both had health issues and other things going,
Goings on.
goings on. I'll take your word for it. You are the teacher after all. To catch you up, I've been in school for 2 weeks now, coming up on week number 3 on Monday. It's going well as things can go when one does school online. We don't have any classroom time. It's just whenever you can make it to your classes to make get your assignments done, do the required reading, etc. There is an instructor over the class, but she's not like ever present watching over our shoulders. So we have discussion groups and forums and things like that. So it's weird, and it kind of dovetails into what this week's episode about. I should introduce myself for those of you who don't know us. You. That's right. That's the right words. I am Craig, aka Coffee, and by my side is always the ebullient and effervescent Cuddles, aka Anna.
Hi. Now I need a dictionary to figure out what that first word was. How much coffee is in that cup?
Not enough.
Oh, sorry, our ever vigilant
Studio dog.
studio dog decided to miss his nylabone and bite my foot. So I guess his nylabone was in a long distance situation. Okay, so let's talk long distance.
Wait, don't I have to go over there? We're talking long distance?
No. You stay here.
Okay.
And I'll stay here.
Okay.
But we're going to talk about long distance.
Oh, makes much more sense.
Exactly.
Sometimes if my mother's listening, I know the Pollock is always supposed to be for filler. I know.
You see, if we were trying to talk long distance and you were over there, you'd have to shout so the microphone could pick you up.
What if we had 2 tin cans and a string?
I don't know. We'll have to try that one episode and see what happens. But then you'd have to go to outside the house.
Outside the house. In the outside the house.
In the outside the house.
Okay. Props to Angela Johnson.
So, okay. So when my parents and your parents were dating, courting, I'm sure that the way they met people was social functions, maybe church get-togethers, hootenannies. Somebody had a friend that they thought would be great for this other friend. There were no dating apps. There was no Skype. There was no Zoom. There was no, you name it, there's an app for it. Not that that's the name of an app.
No, there was no dating app, but there was the Nana network where your grandmother knew somebody who had a grandson or granddaughter, and they were, oh, you'll love them, kind of thing. So
right.
We had the Nana app.
But like with my parents, I don't think my mom could have conceived of meeting my dad, who lived a far distance away, and having that relationship work out. But now with technology and all the different ways that we can meet one another on this great big blue planet that we call home, it is possible to meet people who are half a world away from you. And many people start relationships in that situation.
Over the years, I've known a lot of people that were, one person was in Germany or Austria or somewhere over in Europe, and their significant other was in the US or in Japan or wherever. And when I first met my ex, we met on AOL, which no longer exists. I guess it'd be America Offline now because it went away. But
I still have an AOL email address.
Email, yes, but the actual the AOL software.
Oh, gotcha.
The thing you dial into, or however, I don't know anymore. Yeah, that's gone away. But we met in a chat room, and we started a long distance relationship. She was in Ohio, I was in Oklahoma. So it does work. Eventually, I think that one or the other person has to move to a neutral corner, if you will, someplace that neither one of you is involved with. and then you get together and you start living your life. But I don't know how long distance relationships work. Now, I did have our research department diligently research this, and according to the New York Post, 60% of long distance relationships work out and last. It didn't go into like how long they last or anything, but it does say that at least 60% of them do work in the long term.
Well, I will tell you, as one who has been in a very long distance relationship, they don't always make it to 60%. And it is possible to go too long in that situation. There has to be, you know, some way that you work it out with the other person. How are we going to get time together? How are we going to have that? What's the term I'm looking for? Quality time.
Quality time. Right, because you alluded to something earlier about when they're waking up, you're going to sleep. When you're waking up, they're going to sleep. And you have to factor in like work time.
Yep.
Because they may be awake, but they're working till 6 or 7 or 8 o'clock at night, which could be 5 a.m. your time or whatever it works out to be. And you've got to work together and come up with something that's like mutually acceptable for both of you. So you get quality time, not just, hey, how are you? Good night, I love you, or good morning, I love you. I'm off to work now, or however it works out.
Exactly. And you have to figure out, how are you going to find ways to connect when there's something serious going on and you really need to contact the other person? Because I can think of a situation where it was urgent that I hear from my ex, and I tried to call and my sister attempted it, and we just never got him the answer, and it didn't help. It made a bad situation worse. And then I got angry and got resentful. And I think at that point, I just said, you know what? The whole long distance thing, I don't think it's meant for me. If I'm meant to find someone, they're going to be around the corner or one city over. They'll be in the same geographical area that I'm in, because the whole across the pond thing on the other side of the world, it doesn't do it. And then I met Coffee, and, it was just one of those things. I was having a bad night, and I was on Second Life. It was Mother's Day, and I was just about as blue can be. I was missing my mom, something awful, and someone had asked me to come to listen to him DJ, and I really wasn't up for it. I really just I didn't want to, but at the same time, I didn't want to hear the TV or the sound of my own breathing. So I thought, maybe it would be better to be around other people. And, I was getting greeted by people. And I think at one point I may have mentioned that I was having a rough night because I was missing my mom. And I got the typical, oh, I'm sorry. Oh gosh, that's so bad. And yet Craig took it totally different. And I'll let him explain what he did.
I hopped into her messages and I told her that I was really sorry that she was feeling that way. And I offered her a virtual hug and she appreciated it. And we just started talking. And it was the first step in our long distance friendship. And I was 3 hours ahead of her. So it was kind of almost the same thing where by the time she was going to work, I'd already been up for like 3 or 4 hours. So when it was time for her to go to bed, it was midnight for me and 9 o'clock for her. And there were times when I stayed up later or she said, but it was one of those things. We both had that conversation like, all right, if this is going to work out, we're going to have any quality of friendship, then we have to come up with some kind of game plan where we have time set aside for us to spend together and talk and hang out and hang out virtually anyway. And we did. We figured out how to do it. And I think that's the key to any long distance relationship is there's got to be that give and take, that mutual, okay, I'm going to give up this, you're going to give up this, and we're going to work it out so we can have an hour here, an hour there, 2 hours, whatever it works out to be. You have to find out what your thing is and figure out how to get to that point. Otherwise, it's never going to work out.
And I'm sure the question on the minds of one or more of you is, okay, so what kinds of things did you find worked for you this time that didn't work for you last time? And one of the first things that comes into my mind was driving to work. I would start my commute,
Car ride.
and I would call Craig on the phone. And I'd say, hey, I'm going to work. And he'd be like, oh, cool, I get to go with you. And he would say, okay, let me just put my seatbelt on. And, it was nice because
Roll the window down, stick my head out,
turn the radio on. I don't like that station. Change it. No, I don't like that song. Change it. Wait, right there is perfect. But it was nice because, he'd ask me, oh, what are you going to do today? And if there was anything that was bugging me or something he needed to talk about or I needed to talk about, we'd chat. And it was probably, I don't know, it'd be anywhere from a 45-minute to a 60-minute commute. And by the time I got to work, it was like, hey, I started off my day great. I got a chance to talk to my bestie boo, my ride or die, my partner in crime.
Exactly. And it's something that worked out really well for us. And it was something that was very much us. And usually we vent or rag on or rage about someone that we both knew in SL or something, or, her boyfriend, my significant other, whatever it was. It was a great way to kind of decompress before she went to school, and on the way home, we talk again. Sometimes we talk at lunch if she had time. Sometimes I was working or I was doing other things and I couldn't do it, but we always managed to talk at least once a day. I think that was very important and a very, very crucial building block to the friendship and where it led for us. And eventually it led to me being in the same place as her. That's the way it worked out, and that's how it was meant to be. And that's what we did. And I believe that's really a big part of why you and I are solid like we are, because we had that foundation. Whereas with your dingbat in England, I mean, everything was about him and, oh, I have to go to work or it's late. You would be getting on and he'd be 8 hours ahead of you. So when you would do your sets on Saturday and Sunday mornings or whatever, he would do his set, you would do your set, and then he would log off because it would be like 4:00 in the afternoon or 6:00 at night or whatever. He had to go do dinner. He had to go get ready for the next day. So I never really saw that you had any quality of time or life together.
I mean, we did in the beginning, I'd log on and there'd be a message from him. And it was always nice, that he was taking the time to do that, but it tapered off pretty fast. Unlike someone else I know who I'm waiting to see if he's going to grin here. There it is. I don't remember when the emails and the songs started.
Email started the first night. The song started, I think, the second night.
Okay.
I would find a song on YouTube where I'd hear a song at some club in Second Life, and I'm like, oh, I think she would like this, or I wonder if she would like this. So that was another thing we did. We like found each other's interests, and we actually cared about what the other one liked or what the other one was into, or whatever. So I would send her, oh, I heard this song. What do you think of it? Or, here's a song I thought you would like, or whatever. And from that first day, I haven't missed a single email.
Mm-mm.
And We just celebrated 5 years of friendship last week on the 12th.
That's right. Sorry, McCoy was feeling the long distance effects and brought his toy. But yeah, every morning, 5 a.m., I'd wake up and there would be a song and an email. And it got to be something that I honestly looked forward to because it was.
So now you don't look forward to it?
I still. Stop. Sorry, McCoy. No, it's something that it's always a nice way to start the day because I know that somebody was thinking about me. And
Yeah, if I didn't see you in the world, I left you a message or a text or something or whatever, like, hey, you're not here. I'm thinking about you. I miss my buddy. I miss my bestie Blue. And that's all we did.
And it's not that it was only, the morning drive phone call or it was an email. We found a way to talk minimum, I would say 3 to 4 times a day, minimum, because it'd be driving to work. It would be after school. It would be, late night calls before I'd go to sleep. And I think that's something that we still joke about every once in a while. He'll say, you know what? Why don't I go in the other room and I'll call you on the phone?
I'll call you on Discord. They talk through Discord a lot. I'll go fire up Discord. We'll talk that way for a little bit. It's much nicer being in person. I have to admit, it works out much better this way. Absolutely.
Now, was I slightly nervous when it got to be a couple of years and we were still in this situation? Honestly, no. Because I knew where my best friend was, he'd see, we would talk, on video. So he would see the ceiling of the kitchen.
I saw the underside of cabinets a lot where she would put her phone down. I'd see the ceiling above the couch. I'd see the door. And, so
he'd see doorways, he'd see walls, and then he moved here and
I knew the house layout.
It was so funny because sorry, I cut you off.
Well, it's fun. Go ahead.
The first time that he walked in the house, he was in the kitchen and he was looking up at the ceiling and I started to say something. He goes, I know this part of the ceiling.
Or what the thing I really knew was your purple lunch bag that is on the cabinet door where the glasses are. I know that bag intimately. But it was funny because she's like, do you need to know everything? Is like, no, I've seen it all. I know where everything is. I know the layout of the house now. And she got to see like one corner of my living room. Well, then we moved and then she saw the living room in a different house. But yeah, she always saw whatever was behind my desk. And that's all she ever got to see. But I really don't understand the people that they're in a long distance relationship and, it's a serious relationship and everything. And they've never met each other in person. So I don't understand how that qualifies as a real thing.
That
I know people that, she lived in Australia. He lived in New York or no, he lived in Texas. So she made one trip here and he made one trip there in like a 3 or 4 year period. But that would not be enough for me. I want to be eventually, when we were just friends, it wasn't a big deal. It's like, all right, she's my best friend, whatever. We don't have to be in the same physical location or time zone. But, when things progressed or whatever, and I got here, then yes, I want to be in the same physical location as my partner. Otherwise, I don't understand how you could be boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever term you want to use, and not ever see one another. How does that? I don't understand how that works out.
I know. I mean, do we still do the morning drive phone calls? Yes, we still do that. And there's still the emails and songs. But like one thing that I want to touch on that Craig mentioned here. He talked about how, not being able to actually physically see the person, how does that make for a strong relationship? And that was something that one of my coworkers said to me about me and my ex is she couldn't wrap her head around this long distance relationship because he had never been here and I had never been there. I had a couple of photos on my phone, and that was pretty much it, And she'd always ask me, "Do you ever plan to go there?" And there were several times that I brought up traveling there for a vacation, and it was either his family already had plans, it's too expensive, and I don't want you to waste, spend your money. Or the last one was, yes, we will make plans for you to come and visit within the next 18 months. And you know what happened within the next 18 months? Go. And that, shut that down too. Kind of makes me wonder if he knew.
You never know. But, because you see photos, but you don't know if that's really the real person or not.
Well, I mean, there were not many, but there were some Skype calls. So the photos that I had, I knew were him because I had actually seen him on video. But video doesn't mean the same as being in the same room. That old AT&T commercial, reach out and touch someone. You can't do that with a computer or a phone screen. You can reach out and stick your finger on it, the phone screen. But
any complaint letter should be sent to P.O. Box.
Why I had to be specific about that. I just did. But it's not the same as, putting, your finger on a phone screen because you're still not connecting to the other person. Does physicality have a part in relationships? I'd say absolutely yes.
11 million%.
And is it possible to be in a long-term relationship for a long time and have it work? I'm sure for some people it did. For me, it just, after a while, it got to be really, really difficult. And especially when, I found out, about being diagnosed with an autoimmune disease and his receiving, a cancer diagnosis, then it just bugged me even more. Like, I need to be in the same space. And I couldn't figure out how or if that was ever going to happen. And I think in the beginning, I was just hopeful. And I think after a while, I really started to question, where is this going? But I didn't want to give up. I didn't want to know that it wasn't going to work because I didn't want to see it as a failure.
Exactly. I think the other part of that, or another part of that, is you're different people when it's just online or just on the phone, as opposed to being in the same physical space as someone, because you're going to act differently when you're together all the time. It's very easy to say, well, good night, and hang up the phone or turn off the computer. And not that the other person necessarily stops to exist or ceases to exist, but it's like, okay, I'm closing my computer, so I don't have to think about that. Whereas, oh, you're here. Every morning when you wake up, oh, you're here again. Oh, how lovely.
I have a question.
Okay.
And this is just on something I heard you say. Do you think that we're different since you've been here than we were when there was distance?
Absolutely not. Because from the minute like I stepped outside of LAX and I waved like an idiot to you. I mean, we met, we hugged, whatever. I got in the car and it was just like, it was a continuation of our phone calls. Like there was no awkwardness. There was no weirdness. There was no, Oh my God.
Oh, well.
Oh my gosh, she's a totally different person. And then you asked me for directions.
Yeah, there was weirdness because
And I'd never been to LA.
anyone who's ever met me knows
She's directionally challenged. And she's lived here all her life.
I don't like driving in LA. It makes me very, very, does not make me crazy, makes me anxious because it's not roads. Okay, fine, a little cray cray. There, you happy? I get very nervous because there are streets that you can only go one way. And it's always one of those fears of mine that I will manage to be the first Californian to go the wrong way down a one-way street. And it's just, I don't drive there enough. Now, if it's like a Sunday, like early Sunday, then I'm probably a wee bit more comfortable, but put it during the week and oh my gosh, I'd give anything not to have to do it. But he flew in and I knew I was going to have to get from my school to LAX and I did it. Not only did I get to LAX without panicking, I made it several laps around the airport because, I kind of forgot you need time to walk all the way to baggage claim. And then you got to wait for the baggage. Then you got to find the way to get out of the airport. And, when people are driving around LAX, they don't understand that there's other cars at LAX and they just kind of point their car and go. And that's scary. But yeah, he got in the car and I drove us out of LAX and then realized I wasn't familiar with the street I had put us on. And I looked right at him and I said, which way do you think I'm supposed to go now? He had just arrived, people.
I went, I don't know.
He's like, I don't know. Let's go this way. And I'm like, okay. And he goes, do any of the freeways look familiar? I'm like, no. And he goes, but you just came this way. And I said, but I didn't go back this way because I took us back a completely different way from the way I had arrived. So yeah, that was weirdness right there. I asked a new soon to be Californian, how do you get out of LA?
And she's tickled now when I say, oh, we'll take this street, we take that street, and we go over here.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
California now.
I love it. He'll just say, well, you're going to take, the southbound. It's right there. Remember, it's on the right-hand side. So do long distance relationships work? If both parties,
I will give it a qualified yes.
if both parties are willing to make a go of it, then yes, 60% of relationships, according to the New York Post, do work out. Well, he's showing me a very empty coffee cup. I mean, it's bone dry. Boy, that was good to last drop, wasn't it?
It was.
So, I think I'm going to let you wrap up.
So we appreciate you being here. We appreciate your patience and your indulgence by us missing a week here and there or several weeks, as the case may be. We hope you got something out of it. We hope you enjoyed it. We appreciate each and every one of you.
And I have ideas for future.
We do. As always, I'm Coffee, and by my side is the lovely and
effervescent
Cuddles, aka Anna. We love you all, and God bless.